did play, but like I don't, it doesn't consume my day, but I think there's some interesting things to learn from it. And so if you go back to the San Francisco 49ers, I think late 70s, early 80s, coach by the name of Bill Walsh who had come in, and the 49ers at the time were not doing well. And they've since turned into a dynasty at that point. They're pretty good today, but like during this time, they were barely beatable. And one of the things Bill Walsh decided to do is he's famous for this thing called a West Coast offense, which everybody looks at on the field. But what he was really infamous for was his off the field and what he did in preparation. So when you called the headquarters, and this is actually outlined in his book, he co-authored a book about his experience. You called the headliners, the headquarters of the 49ers. The person who answered the phone via a script.
Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS, Sharpen the Spear podcast, with another incredible guest. Scott Beebe is in the house, the virtual house. And Scott, no one knows Scott better than Scott. So Scott, bring us up to speed. Give us that backstory, and we'll tear into the conversation.
Yeah, as creative as I can make the backstory, I can tend to be a little bit of a bland storied person in terms of that story, but grew up all over the country. My parents moved. My dad's an engineer, and so we just kind of followed the work all around the United States. And so I was born in D.C., lived in Charlotte, Houston, Portland, Oregon for a while, and then ended up migrating, if you will, back to the East Coast in Greenville, South Carolina. Finished out high school there. Went to the University of South Carolina, then to theology school out in Texas. Sold drugs in Georgia, pastored in Texas, and then sold drugs again, all this legally, of course, back in South Carolina for about 6, 7 years. Ran a little non-governmental organization out of Nigeria. So I've been in Nigeria probably 30, 35 times in my life. Back and forth, probably spent, I don't know how many months of my life over there. And then in 2015, I met with my first business owner, ran a full 12 hours, actually 2 owners in a room, full 12-hour vision, mission, values workshop. And from that, we birthed what is now Business on Purpose. We just turned 10 years old back in March of this year at the time of this recording. And it's been a delight. We do one thing. We do it really well, but we only do one thing, and that is to liberate owners from chaos and make time for what matters most. So Ashley and I work in the business together. We've got a team of 12, and then she and I have put out 3 humans in the world. And our oldest daughter has brought another human into that fold, Luke, who we actually really like. And then as of now, we've got another human being birthed into the world here in the next 6 months or so, which we're super excited about.
Oh, that's awesome. That is fantastic. And Business on Purpose, I love I love the mission. You know, my thing is very similar, right? I've got a book called Escape the Owner Prison.
Yeah.
So that should make sense, right? So there we go.
Right.
So this can be a great conversation, because I think, Scott, what you've discovered over 10 years, what I've been 10 plus doing the same thing, is business is great. People have a craft, they get into something, they start working, doing their thing, but they're not a business person. I'm air quoting business person, right? But they're making money and they're doing their thing. And then you know how it goes. After 2 years, you know, you're doing you're wearing all the hats, doing all that stuff. Next thing you know, 10 years has gone by, and you've repeated the first 2 years 5 times.
Yeah.
You're on the hamster wheel, right? You're on the hamster wheel, and there's no escape, and that business owns you. So I'd love to get into kind of your views on this and what you guys do to help people escape that, because it's incredibly liberating when it happens.
Yeah.
And it's misery when it doesn't.
When it doesn't. Yeah, sure. Yeah. The business owner world, I did not grow up in the home of an entrepreneur. I grew up in a home of an engineer. And so, kind of a corporate engineer. So I saw that side of life really, really well. And so that's obviously a natural bent as you go into things. But I was surrounded by friends who were either entrepreneurs themselves or they grew up in entrepreneurial homes. So I got to see a little bit of that side of it also. And the closer I started getting to these friends, finding out their story, you realize that there's myths both way. Michael Gerber wrote the E-Myth, so he kind of identified the entrepreneurial myth. But then there's a corporate myth. Maybe somebody needs to write the C-Myth book, which is
Right.
this idea that, hey, I'm going to get a corporate job because those are safe. Not really. 100% of your income is dependent on one decision. You're one decision away from 100% of your income going away. And so there's a myth there as well. And so I looked at those two myths. But the one thing I have seen is where there is a lot of crossover in chaos between both the corporate side of things, or the institutional side of things, and the entrepreneurial side of things. The one thing is true, and that is there is a common theme amongst that, and that is that we have a shared enemy that prowls around like a roaring lion looking to devour. Now, we happen to call that enemy chaos in the modern day vernacular. So when we're talking to business owners, that's why our mission is to liberate owners from chaos. It is not to eradicate chaos. That will not happen on this side of Jesus's return. But we have been equipped on how to handle it. And so we have been promised that we're going to be walked with through this. And so if that's the case, we want to be, as from a coaching standpoint and advisorial standpoint, we want to be mimicking that walking with. And so that's ultimately what we do, but very tactically. So we are not counseling or strategy-based coaches or advisors. We are what we call principle-based, meaning the same things that we lay out today, if we would have had this technology, at least the concepts back in the 1400s with the Medicis in Florence, or if you go back to 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years, 5,000 years ago, the principles are going to hold firm. The strategies will change. How you market to a particular, how you outreach to a particular market, that's going to change. But the fact that you have to market and the repetition, predictability, and meaning around that market, the air of support versus the ground game of that marketing, those are all principles that withstand time. And so that's really where we dive in, is identifying the enemy. The enemy is chaos, realizing that that enemy is perpetual. It does not go away, but you can create boundaries because boundaries bring freedom with that. And so those are the boundaries that we're looking to kind of bulwark so that you've got a place of refuge to be able to come into and work while being sieged from time to time. We're not going to stop the siege on the fort, but we can build a great fort that creates a thriving community for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think when a lot of businesses I deal with, when you talk about principles, and you can wrap in your core values, you can do, there's a lot of different names and categories for these things, but I like the principle aspect because these are things, as you just said, they don't waver, they don't change.
Yeah,
It's an operating position,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
it's really, and I do a lot of business owners that don't have those
yeah,
because they haven't. It's not that they don't want them; they haven't taken the time to say, well, how am I actually doing business?
right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's really interesting when you see it. So let's talk about that a little bit because I think let's kind of define a few for them. So because people are going, wait a minute, am I a principal? Am I a principal
yeah,
business owner? Am I? Because you could ask them, are you a principal business owner? And they'll naturally say yes, but well, tell me about it.
yeah, yeah.
Drill down a
Well,
bit, and they can't define what those principles are.
yeah. If you look at it, I think there's a couple key words. I like words. I like thinking about meanings of words. And if you look at there's one particular word that and this one you may want to write down and look up. I think it's worth kind of digging into, and it's the word inertia. And so it's this idea that we just sort of have this tendency to not really do much unless we're acted upon by some third party to sort of push us in place. And there's a lot of business owners that have, and I'm going to use this word, but I need to explain this word. So for your audience, don't turn this off yet. When I say the word, you're just sort of resting and not doing anything. They're thinking, I'm not resting. I'm like working harder than I've ever worked. I'm spinning my wheels, what Seth Godin calls the dip. I'm in this place where I'm giving increased effort with decreased results. And we stop there and we go, oh, stop for just a second. When I say rest, what you're doing is you're resting from the idea of equipping and empowering other people. That's hard work. And instead, you're living under the falsehood of, well, I'll just do it myself, or nobody else does it like I do it. We call it the founder's curse. And it's a cancer to business owners when we live under that founder's curse, because what we're doing is we're not equipping or allowing other people to do things. Now, here's another falsity that we've got to be mindful of when we're looking at that idea of equipping. Some of us are so sensitive to being overly frustrating and exasperating dictators in our leadership because we've been given bad models for that in the past, that we over nice our way into leadership. And instead of saying, hey, I need you to do this by this date with this level of quality, what we do is go, hey, do you think you can? And we sort of kind of live life by democracy because we're so fearful of dictatorship. But there's a middle ground that I think we need to really think about. That's the idea of representative republic. For those of us who live in the United States, we get a decent model of this, at least on paper, of what this should look like. And so it's this idea that we've got a few who represent the whole so that we can make decisions in streamlined real time rather than having to do referendum votes on everything. And so too many businesses, even at 4, 5, 8, 10, 15 people, are trying to run like democracies. And the natural shift is to go into dictatorship. And I say, no, 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 let's meet in the middle. Let's go with a representative republic to where we identify leaders, task those leaders with certain responsibilities. And then instead of going, hey, do you think, might you be able to, hey, if you'd be so kind, just to go, hey, this is the role, this is the task that we need you to do. But the problem is we lack that clarity. We don't have clarity around organizational structure, around role clarification, and frankly, around task checklist and what I call a scorecard to make sure that these things are clear for what they're going to be doing. So we've got to be mindful of those things, of this extreme on either side. And will we able to hit the perfect creamy center? No, not at all. But we can get far closer in understanding that, hey, we do need to equip. And one of the ways that we raise up leaders is not by dictatorial rule, and it's not by democracy, it's by equipping. Looking at somebody with a tool belt and going, hey, I need to equip you not just with general tools, but specific tools to our business, which requires getting this stuff out of our head and onto some documented tool.
Yeah, that's great. It is today. I do a lot now in the manufacturing space. Okay. So we basically have 5 generations working together. Okay. And you
Okay.
get to the younger generations and they couldn't lead you to lunch.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and then you get the older generations that, no one works hard enough. These guys don't work. They don't do, the young guys don't, and it's all perception. Okay. And they all have their way of doing things, but trying to bring those 5 together, and soon it'll be 4, right? Because these guys are aging out, is really the challenge. And from a leadership standpoint, because, the great leaders are building other leaders.
Yeah.
Right. It's just part of the delegation process almost, right? You're creating a new leader and trying to communicate with these guys. And it doesn't mean like we all have to have a personality test and we walk around with like little D and an S on our name badge
Yeah.
so people
Yeah.
know how to talk to you. Because I have been in seminars where they've suggested, I'm like, are you out of your mind? There's 75 people here.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm supposed to like, wait, oh, he's a D. I need to speak to him this way. Like that doesn't work. Right. I'm
Yeah.
like, what fantasy land do you live in? You got to
Yeah.
get off that paper sometime. But that's the real key. Like you're saying, how do we do this? Who is, I'm air quoting, in charge?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There has to be a system. There has to be order. There has to be structure, otherwise it is chaos, right? It's anarchy. Even
Yeah.
beyond chaos, it's total anarchy.
Well, I think a lot of people, we saw this phenomenon, I think it was late 90s, early 2000s in college football of all places. And this idea of co-head coach or a head coach in waiting. And so we had these co-coaches, co-coordinators, so you'd have more than one, essentially. Who's in charge at that point? I think it's Dave Ramsey, I don't know who said this first, but he popularized it when he said the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. Does that mean that all ship partnerships are bad? No, it does not. It means most of them are doomed to fail, though, because there is no clarity as to what the organizational structure is of that thing. I'm having to learn this as a leader right now as well. I'm a guy that's overly democratic in things because I've been given bad models of dictatorship in the past. So I'm course correcting wrongly too far the other way. And so I'm more prone to do that. Not because I'm a nice guy. It's because I don't want to be seen as a dictator. And that's equally as not as healthy. And so I'm having to learn how to come into that middle. And part of that is to basically say, hey, the buck stops with me. And I don't want you to hear that as an arrogant thing. I want you to hear that as I wear that burden at 2:36 in the morning when I wake up.
Yep.
At 4:13 again when I wake up on the same morning and when I have to think about all these things. And I look around and I have to think about all the nutty little compensation logistical elements, the budget elements. I have to think about that client's pissed at that particular coach, It's not even my client, but I have to think about that. And so really kind of understanding, hey, because of this responsibility that I sit on, I don't have the luxury to be overly democratic, and I don't have, there's not valuable to be overly dictatorial. And so what I've got to do is I've got to get these things. What do I need to do? Okay, so I'll give you an example. This year, we wanted to hire a new team member. And the ultimate question was, what are we hiring this person for? And my response was simply to do all the things I don't want to do anymore. That's it. And so I made a list, huge list of all of that. And then we went through, categorized it, put it into our four different systems: marketing, sales, ops, and admin, some general tasks and that sort of thing. Broke them down into daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semesterly, and annually. And then we built out an entire role, an entire check sheet, so that this person would have abundant clarity on what they want to do. So far, we're about 6, 7 months into that role. It has been a helpful success. Why? Is because it solved a real problem, not a perceived problem. Hey, we need an accounting person. We need a project manager. And so we just say all these titles that everybody else has in their business. No, this is not your business. This is my business. And therefore, meaning the organism is unique from your organism. You could have twin sisters that both own identical construction companies, both have 8 employees, both generate 6.25 million a year, both operate in the same town, and yet the organism is going to run very differently. They're all their unique stuff. And so part of the owner's responsibility is to take the uniqueness processes within those systems that we have, get them out of their head or the head of their team members, put them in a public square to where the team can get access to it, and then begin to methodologically train with it. Here's the nice thing, Richard. We're in an age where if you BYOC, bring your own creativity, AI can do all the heavy lifting. How you use AI wrongly is if you go to AI for your creativity. But if you can bring your own creativity, I can now take what used to take us 3 months to model and build, and I can model and build it in an hour. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
But we've got to bring our own creativity to that thing. So owners, wake up. It's here. Your time is here to be able to take all of these prizes. Well, I don't want to tell somebody how to change a can light. Well, I'm sorry. That's on you. You got to do it. But the good news now is all you need to do is talk for about 2 minutes. AI will take everything else, map it all out, and you're good to go.
yeah. I've been telling people I've been working on these massive projects with this, and I'm deep. I am. You can probably see it on top of my neck. That's how deep I am in AI, right? And I'm doing stuff no one's even done. But you're right. That time compression of, again, I use my creativity, and I'll give people a little hack here real quick too. Remember, AI is built by humans, so it's
Yeah.
going to do two things all the time. Ready? It's going to be lazy, and it's going to lie.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to give you the easiest
That's
answer.
good.
That's not going to be your best answer. And if you're not creative and you're not paying attention, you're going to go, yeah, that's good, better than I could do. But do you ask it to give you more?
Yeah.
And just say, roast this and
Yeah.
watch what it does. And
Yeah.
now you get to something really worthy of your business, your uniqueness, and everything else. Now you can craft it, but you got to be awake, like you're saying. It's not going to do it. Don't have it do it for you, because that's not going to work. Okay. So, and it is wrong. It'll tell you it did something. You literally can scroll back up and go, no, you didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
go, if you were an employee, I'd be choking you out. And
Yeah.
I
Right.
named mine Duke. I said, Duke, but I'd be choking you out right now. Like you're getting, making me a little angry here with this. We're going in the circle, so you got to pay attention. But you're right. And we look at tools, and this is, to me, Scott, is an incredibly opportune time to be able to grow and scale your business without bringing in additional, personnel.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what this tool can do.
That's
And
right.
it's, and when you talk about eliminating the chaos, this is it, right? That
Yeah.
time, I mean, I can write. I've written multiple books and tons of blah, but I can't write this fast. But I can
No.
be creative and let it fix it and organize it and put it in print form, and that's the nightmare. It's just like
Yeah.
doing all the tasks, right?
Yeah.
Doing
Yeah.
everything. I'd rather have someone else do it. Like you said, AI is that person, that
Yeah.
thing,
It is.
right?
Yeah. The things like it's even building models for us. It's building,
Mhm.
ideal agents for us. It's building a variety of things. Now, AI can equally cause chaos. And so there's got to even be, we tell people all the time that you need an AI policy in your handbook. Uh, And then that usually stops people and go, wait, what was the second part of that? I said, a handbook. And they're like, yeah, I don't even have that. Okay, great.
Right.
So here's what you do. BYOC, bring your own creativity. I want you to write down everything that frustrates you and just bothers you of the questions you get day to day in your business. And you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. And you just go. But, people ask me for time off. People, not using the credit cards correctly, all this stuff. Get it all out and then go, hey, I want you to write a handbook that follows around my cultural values. And by the way, if you have your vision, mission, values written down, you can upload that and go follow
Yeah.
this methodology, how it all, and it'll give you a handbook and it'll give you a super custom handbook. And then go back through to your question and go, hey, I read through some of this and I need you to change this and that. And did you mention any of this in here and all that? And so once we have a handbook and then we train on that handbook, well, I don't know how to train. AI will put a program together for you to be able to train. But then it comes back to the human. It comes back to the human. We've got to have that human interaction. Let it build all the stuff in the middle. You bring your own creativity, you deliver it, and in the middle, let AI build it.
So here, I'll give you another hack right along with what you're saying. So I deal with one of my customers. He has a tree service, right? So they remove trees, trim trees, all that stuff. He's really doing well. And you know what Plod is, right?
Yeah.
Plod is a little recording device, right? Sure. So I said, well, I go get Plod, clip it on. You roll up in the truck for the estimate, the sales call, turn it on, go do the estimate. Get done, come back, upload that in there 10 times, 20, 30. You'll have by the end of the season, and it could be 50 or 100 things, could be 15. You're going to have all the objections you'll ever hear regarding the service. You'll hear their complaints, their fears, what they're excited about and everything. And then you take all that's in chat and say, build me a sales presentation program, give me a facilitator program, give me the training, and it'll do all that in minutes.
Yeah.
And then you go back and do this, and all of a sudden, you've now duplicated yourself because as the owner, you're the best salesman there is.
That's right.
And that's why you won't stop selling, because you don't think anyone else can do it. But if you could take that, and I found this, Scott, to be the greatest way to let the owner let go of sales, because they leave. Well, what are you saying? You've got now you have 100 hours of recordings.
That's right.
Of you selling. You telling me you can't.
Yeah.
Like, I just cloned you, man.
Yeah.
I just cloned you. Like, let's go. Let's get a sale. Let's expand. We can do this now. Right. Yeah. We already broke 7 figures. Let's go for 8. Let's do this stuff. So these are the tools that people aren't thinking properly about how to apply them. They're all either thinking this is Terminator, we're all going to die. Okay, we're going to be slaves.
Or it's just an advanced Google search. I think
Exactly.
that's how most people look at this, is just a faster Google search for what's needed. So yeah, I mean, it's coding, it's doing all this kind of stuff, but this is where I go back and go, there's still got to be framework. And this is where people go, hey, what's the next step? The next step is to articulate your vision. Where are you going? Well, we do 8 million a year. I don't care. I do not care, because I've met plenty. I just met one last week. I was speaking in a thing, guy calls me, everything's in play. Like, he looks good, his family looks great, the logos are there, new building, all this stuff. And he goes, hey, this is something that I wasn't able to share with my club, but they found about 1.5 of unreported revenue. And now I've got a tax bill. I think it was 430 grand or whatever it was. So I don't remember what the revenue was, but it was a lot. And it's basically due immediately. And he said, my marriage is breaking down right now because of this. And you're like, you have no idea where you're going, man. Like, no idea where you're just hustling, trying to make money. And so when we've got all this AI, and do we augment with, AI, a real person, task roles, Hey, yeah, let me get that. And so we jump after this squirrel and the next best thing. And we stopped and we go, hey, does that have any bearing on where you're headed at all? Or does that just pour jet fuel on you going in the wrong direction?
Yeah, it's that's a great point. What I do that too. We start with the vision, right? And inside that's exit strategy, but it's really like, and they're not. It's not long term. I don't need to go 5 and 10 year, because you don't know what's happening. Just give a quick attachment to this. I've interviewed a lot of AI experts, right? The guys who've like built this stuff.
Yeah.
They won't give you anything past 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a stretch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's no, it's daily, right? Business is, that same thing, 18 to 24 months out. What do you want to achieve? What's the vision? How do you get everyone on the team to go with you? Right? That's what we got to do. Like, what does that look like? How does every single person in this company fit? How are they the hero in this journey that you guys are trying to get to? When you map this out, because I've done it with tons of clients, and like it's moving, right? People, they read it, people see where they fit, they highlight their stuff. Now they have purpose, right? So what you're really
Yeah.
talking about, vision is giving people purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they
Yes.
don't have purpose, they don't care. They're just working for a paycheck. They don't have
Yes.
a reason why.
That's it. And there's no reason for making decisions. I apologize. We live in the city here, and so I don't know if you can hear that ambulance, but an
No.
ambulance came by. It means the mic's really good. Yes, I think when we're thinking, if an owner can just stop back, and you mentioned this word purpose, Simon Sinek talks about your why, like all of these things. What
Mhm.
is this? So if we delineate it between vision, mission, values, here's the difference. Vision is a detailed snapshot of the future. Boom, out there. Values are the curbs along the side of the road. That's how we make decisions. Hey, should we go this way? No, no, no. We're going to hit the curb if we do that. Should we go this way? Yes, we'll stay on the road if we do that. Okay, so there are filters. I just had a client make a $12 million decision based on their core values. How do you do that? They were going for an estimate with a municipality. It's going to be a $12 million two-year project. And they went through it, and the municipality kept coming back and kind of trimming, not just money off, but their terms and all of these sorts of things. And finally, they said, hey, we are going to submit this, but we're going to submit this at this rate with these terms because of our core values. And if we don't get it, we don't get it. And lo and behold, they did not get it. And the project manager who put the bid in was really having a hard time personally, because he just like he feels like he cost his company money. And I was really proud of the owner to come back and go, you didn't cost us anything. Actually, you probably saved us money on the long term, because it turns out that the margin on it was going to be about 5%, which is not fantastic. And you're going to lose half of that because you're funding a
Mhm.
lot of this startup as a bank because you're dealing with a municipality. That's how values help guide decision making. And so if the vision's a detailed snapshot out there, the values are the curbs along the side of the road, what's mission or purpose? Why are we going this direction? What's the point? And so once we can articulate that, we want people to do that in 10 words or less. Why? Is because anything over that is irrelevant for most people. I'm not paying attention after 10 words. But if you can tell me I do one thing, and that's to liberate owners from chaos, make time for what matters most, you'll listen to that. But if instead I said, what we want for you is we want to coach you effectively so that you can master the internal systems within an operating, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like that
Yeah. Yeah.
makes no sense. I've not told you as to why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah. So critical. And and it's part of communicating, right? You've got to communicate this vision, this mission.
Yeah.
That's the challenge a lot of people have. Some people kind of know, and then they write it down. And like you said, being very concise with it is critical. But then how does it become part of the operating system every day, every
Yeah.
week, every month? How do these people understand? Because it's like mission statements. Okay. So, they put them on the wall, and we want to be the number one blah, blah in the county and all this, whatever. And I'm like, dude, that's wallpaper. I go, the only thing that does is feed the owner's ego. So I like
Yeah.
take it off the wall and throw it in the garbage. I
Yeah.
go, this is
Yeah.
trash. Okay, no one cares. And it doesn't change their behavior. They don't work harder, come up with new ideas. That does nothing except take up space. So
Yeah.
throw that thing away. Vision's a completely different thing. Now I get missions, right? I mean, I'm a Marine. Okay, I get
Right.
missions. We gotta go out, we gotta execute, we gotta do things. But what's the overall battle? Right? What's the war, if you will, right? That's the vision. That's what you're achieving. And it's going to get, I've had my clients, they do the 18 to 24 month, and guess what? They achieve it. Well, now what do they
Yeah.
do? Write another one. They're on
Yeah.
their second and third one now. And because they give them that purpose, and the whole team is achieving this with this purpose, and you have an unbelievable party when that happens, right? Like you guys, we did this. What's next? Now everyone's thinking even bigger on the
Yeah.
second one, right? They're like, well, we didn't even think we could do that, but we did that. Now let's go. What are we going to do next? So it's
That's good.
incredibly inspiring for the team, and that's part of being a visionary leader. And
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, we tend to be visionaries. It's kind of our thing. It's kind of our favorite thing to do. Okay, some do it too
Yeah.
much. Okay,
Yeah.
some people are too much in fairyland.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sometimes we can spin chaos off because of
that,
that
that's right.
entrepreneurial vision for sure.
That's right. So it's a lot. It's really great when you hone this in. And the difficult thing, Scott, I don't know if you find this too, is like reining that in the beginning, because it's here's what I thought. I used to like want to start with that, and I would, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
really get this out. And it tends to like frustrate them. And if you come at someone when you're starting to, oh, I'm going to come in and going to work with you for 12 months, and it's the absolute hardest thing you do, you start with it, that can be a little demoralizing on that owner's end. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Well, they've usually never thought that big.
right.
And so what we've started to learn as coaches and advisors, we need to come in with something that's a quick win, but it's also a meaningful win. And usually that's why we start with the money side of things. Then we'll pivot to the vision and ultimately get to that point. But we used to be really hard fast to say, hey, we're going to start with vision because if you don't know where you're going, nothing else matters. And there's truth in that, by the way. I think
Right.
both things are true. That is true, and we got to get a quick win that usually involves money.
Yeah. I'm with you. We do the same thing. So I'm like frontline leadership. I go to the front line and I fix it.
Yeah,
I fix that because I
yeah,
can attach ROI to every gap I close.
yeah,
And they see that. And like, and I tell people kind of, jokingly, but like the problem's always the owner. It's
yeah,
always the guys at the top. Okay. I'm a problem in my own business, right?
yeah,
We're the problem. So I'm like, I'm coming for you, just not yet. I'm going to
yeah,
prove my worth. I'm going to make change down here and I have to build the confidence. You don't come in telling the head guy he's no good. And I
yeah,
don't mean he's no good. I mean, like, you're not really taking the ownership. You're not blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, let's get on the floor. Let's make some things happen. Let me show him some real ROI and then we'll
yeah,
work our way up that chain.
yeah,
Right. And it's real effective. Like you said, just go in and make a difference.
yeah,
And for guys like us being what I call the outside eyes, we can walk in and do that in like hours. I mean,
yeah.
we see what
Well,
they
because
can't see.
you can see quickly. I
Mhm.
don't know if even that's a thing. I think it's probably a good thought, a good concept. This idea is I can see really quickly because of a mix of things: intuition, experience, wisdom, all those sorts of things. Failure, like all that mixes in a pot to give you a faster sense of thinking about things. And it's another thing we've learned recently, Richard, is where we used to, it looks like today we don't value discernment. I'm talking about us personally,
Right.
like our business. We don't value discernment like we used to. And it's not true. I've had to come to grips with this because I'm finding myself as an owner at this stage of our business that we need to make quicker decisions. And I look at that and go, well, is that violating wisdom? No, we've got a whole stew that's been stewing for over a decade now so that it informs the next decision. And so, yes, some decisions should take less time because it doesn't mean you're any less discerning. It means you drew on the discernment of the past. And if you were drawing that discernment not on strategy, but on principle, longstanding principle, now all of a sudden you can move a lot quicker through a lot of those things.
Yeah, that's a great point because again, that's what time in the game does.
Yeah, yeah,
The head coach this isn't his first game.
yeah, that's right.
Okay, I guess
That's
he's been
exactly right.
20 years plus, whatever, from whatever started in Pee Wee football. I don't know. And now he's, now he's running NFL teams, whatever. But there's a lot to draw on,
Yeah,
right? On all those kind of things. We do that from the businesses I've run myself, plus all the people I've worked with, right? I mean, I wrote my
yeah,
book because the patterns are the same. My little thing I tell them, I go, well, they're doing all the right, wrong things. That's what I tell them. I go, it's easy. The patterns are the same, so it's not really hard for us to go in now because of the experience and just see,
yeah,
well, why is he doing that? Well, what do
yeah,
you mean? Well, let me explain this to you. You've got a $150 million manufacturing plant. You got one line running. Sam's Club and Walmart are here wondering where their product is. They've shown up to the building. Okay, each line is $20 million, and your ops manager is smiling, sitting at his desk looking at his computer at 10 a.m. Why is he
yeah,
smiling?
yeah,
Okay, we need to look at. And he's like, I don't know what you mean. I go, oh my gosh, like, dude, so when you see that, we see that so quickly, like, well, just give me the word, I'll get rid of him, that
yeah,
kind of thing. But
yeah,
but there's a problem here. We see this stuff because again, we're not in it.
yeah,
There's a real advantage to the outside eyes because we don't have an emotional attachment to it. We're
yeah,
not mired inside their business, so it's like a superpower for us. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah,
And you've experienced the same thing, I'm sure. And it just
absolutely.
I always say that Scott, just 'cause I want people, and I wouldn't take any help the first 20 years of my business. No one knew as much as me. Just
That's,
ask me. Okay.
yeah.
But
Third party voices are incredibly valuable.
they, yep.
We as a coaching and advisory firm, people are like, are you concerned that AI is going to take your job. No, I'm aware that AI is going to take 50% of my job. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean into the valuable part that it's not going to take. And that's this idea that you can't replace the human creativity around a thing and the experience and perspective. So AI cannot bring you perspective. It will bring you perspective. But to your point earlier, it's going to bring you random perspective that is not contextual to what you're doing. And so we've got to be able to kind of lean into that perspective on what we're looking at. So yeah,
I think another aspect too, just on that same topic, Scott, is, and I use this word often, it's relationship.
yeah,
Don't think that like no one wants to talk to people.
yeah,
No one wants to know. Everyone's like, you think everyone lives in this box, their own box. You know what I mean? They don't want to be bothered because the robot's going to take care of it.
yeah,
People, and because how I sell, I walk onto the floors of businesses
yeah,
and I just start chatting with people. Man, I got a vest, I got a head, I got safety glass. I'm like, I'm one of the guys just, and I start, man, people love it, you know, and
yeah,
they get you to the right people and you go there, and that's caring, that's relationship. I'm not
yeah.
sending 5,000 cold emails hoping
Right,
someone's
right.
going to like, oh, he sounds amazing. Let me
That is
call him up and hire
interactivity.
him. You know, it's just, that's not the sales process,
Yeah,
right? Like people
yeah,
do it. I don't. I stopped. I try to go, wait, this is not who I am. Core values, right? Principle. This is not what we do, because now we're working with the people on the team and the owners and everything else. That's relational. You're not going
yeah,
to get that, from, and I get, just use AI again. I get the communication part and everything else, because here's a little thing I learned too. They're starting to put it in nursing homes, because
mm,
you have all these seniors who don't get to talk to anybody.
mm,
They're like abandoned, and they become, and they have some real conversations. It's
yeah,
pretty fascinating. I mean, it's kind of saving lives.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
all of a
It
sudden
is. Yeah.
they learn
So
about them, right, and they can throw this stuff. It's really cool.
those secondary causes are very, very interesting in how it's going to be used for sure.
Yeah, fascinating. But yeah, but I really think the relationship aspect in business, okay, and this goes not just from coaching. I mean, like you got to know people. Your
Yeah,
your customers are people. Your customers are not AI.
yeah,
Customers are people, and when you make that connection, that increases the longevity aspect of your business,
yes,
right? It gives you standing, and you might be a local guy, right? Hey, I work within 5 towns. I got a 30 square mile radius. I work.
yeah,
Well, own it. How are you going to do that? Not with AI. You're going to do that by knowing people and serving and speaking
yeah.
the language and
We
doing
call it
all
the ground game of marketing. So when people look at marketing and outreach, that we get this phrase all the time is oh, we don't do any advertising. We're word of mouth. And I'm
that.
like,
Mhm.
like, what do you think that is? Like that's
Yeah.
those mouths are wording something to you. And so we delineate in marketing between the air support and the ground game. Ground game being getting in front of people face to face, phone to phone, that sort of thing, Zoom to Zoom, whatever. Air support is all the ancillary stuff that as soon as they connect with you on the ground game, whatever that is, they're going to search for you in the air. And they're going to search
Yes.
for you anonymously to check your authority. That's what they're looking at. And so wars are usually not won in the air; they're usually won on the ground. But the air support can support the ground game in the advance of that kind of infantry, if you will. And so when we're thinking about marketing, we need to stop thinking about LinkedIn and using this strategy and whatever. We need to think about air support and ground game. What is the effective ground game? And if you want to generate leads via air support, just remember it is really expensive. In the same in military, it's much more expensive in the air than it is on the ground. And so any dollars you're going to spend, I mean, I'm talking 5, 6, and 7 figures if you want to generate leads just via air support alone. But if you want to do it by the ground game, you're still going to spend that, but it's going to be in your time and not necessarily in the paid version of that or anything like that. So that's one thing that we've got to think through is this idea of air support and ground game. But to your point, the human interaction around those sorts of things brings a great deal of trustworthiness, authority, and all of that that continues to kind of allow us to live out our why, live out our purpose, and what we're looking to do.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great analogy, the air and ground game. Because here's the thing: if I go ground, I meet someone. Okay, great. I make some pretty quick headway because we're pressing the flesh, we're talking, we're chatting, we're doing a thing. The air support, and I also put it underneath the technical aspect. That's my support. Like that's what I'm going to put them into. I can't go see them every day and talk to them.
Yeah.
But where do they go? What do I have to follow up and go into this? Once they see you have this system and a process, it's consistent. That builds your authority. That builds trust, reliability. Because you're like, oh, this guy's really on it.
Yeah.
You know, you've got all this. If you tell them where to go, and they go there and they get what they're looking for, and they go to the next level. So you're exactly right. Combining these, that's why it's not one and done.
Yeah.
You have to have both, you know, and everything that communicates in between the two. It's no good to, if I can't call in an airstrike. Okay, if I don't have the communication, the technology to call an airstrike, I'm not yelling into the sky, you know, to an F-18 to come drop some 500-pounders on, you know,
Yeah.
so and so. Like, not going
Yeah.
to work, right? So I got to have all the tools to bring that stuff together. Not to mention, please at least drop it in the right place and
Yeah.
not on
Yeah.
me. I've been in some close calls,
Yeah.
training exercises that I'm hearing coordinates on the radio. I can't talk to them, but I can hear where they're coming, and I'm looking at my map. I'm going, that's where we're at. And then here they come. AVA's coming over, and they're dropping five, and clouds of dirt are hitting, and you're about, you know, I won't go into the other details, but it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we can't communicate. Okay, that's kind of a problem, you know. So
Wow.
it's been wild, but you really think about it. Like, I love the analogy. It's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I think that's kind of conceptually from a summary standpoint is to look at it and go, hey, if we looked at extremes on both of these, one is purpose, vision, mission, values. The extreme is inertia. The other is to look at this idea of equipping people so that they can do that. The extreme on either side, dictatorial, it's not leadership, dictatorial mandates. And then you've got the other side of over democracy, and somewhere in the middle is a representative republic. How do we get a few people to really own verticals? And then with that, we start to look at how do we engage with the customer and that idea of marketing and these extremes of ground and air. And so I think everything that we do, and I think that's sort of a theme that we hit on from an owner's perspective, is there's always extremes and there's somewhere in the middle. We tend to bias towards the extremes, and it takes work to get to the middle.
Yeah, it's so true. And because here's the thing, that if you want to create these leaders, okay, so you got to delegate to the few who can then, you know, run the many. The issue is, like, what are you actually giving them? What are you actually training them in? Right? That's the process. It's like the good example is they take someone who's a really good worker, great at their job, and they promote them into leadership.
Yeah.
And they say, take care of everything, and they leave.
Yeah.
You've been christened with a title and a pay increase. Don't screw up. Okay.
Yeah.
And those people, for the most part, don't even want the job. They want the money, but they're really good. They rather just do what they're doing, but they get promoted without the skills and the tools and everything else to be trained up in. And now the chaos doubles and triples.
Doubles and
And the
triples.
production goes way down.
Yeah.
You know, the animosity begins,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
all this stuff. And it's just a snowball. It's just, I see it all the time, you know. So that's the challenge, right? Like you're saying, bring all this stuff to the middle. Now what?
Yeah.
I get it, you know, and this is where guys like you and I come in. They get, once they agree to the concept, like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now it's the how to.
The
Because
how-to.
again, there's plenty of people wrote books on this stuff, but again, they couldn't come and do it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so there's that teacher trainer thing, you know, like,
Yeah,
I
that's
come in
right.
as the trainer, you know, we're gonna knock things out. You know, I'm gonna be here. I'll be counting to 10 for you.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
doing all 10. All right, this is what we're doing here. So we're gonna make it sit. Right, it's going to be part of you now. It's this full immersion, and we'll get it done so we can progress quickly. So I
Yeah.
love it.
That's great.
Yeah, Scott, this is I don't know. I'm running this through my head here. You know, kind of, we've been doing it a long time. We kind of get it, but I think a lot of listeners, as they're hearing this, a lot of these are new concepts. You know, because they've been running so hard doing the day to day and building the business. And again, you mentioned earlier, well, the revenue numbers look good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's a really bad scorecard, by the way. Revenue numbers. Where what I go to is what's the RNP? What's the real net profit? What are you taking home? You know, what are you looking at that? And that also includes your time. Yeah. Time is part of real net profit. Okay. We got the dollars and we got the time. You know, are you earning enough to buy time? That's key, right? So we look at that and this is the thing, they have to grab a hold of that concept and say, okay, what are the first steps? Right? And there's a process you have to begin and walk them out of that. And it's not a long time. 6 months, a year, 2 year. Pretty soon you have that freedom, and all of a sudden you've got those delegated leaders. They're running the show. And here's the thing I want to talk about real quick is what I find too is a lot of people are, well, they call it abdicating, right? They're just, again, we talked about just tapping someone on the shoulder, lead this. First, they don't even have a lane to work in.
Yeah.
Like their own job, like it's kind of, they do it because they figured it out, but there's no, like you said, curbs. There's no lanes for these people to operate. They don't know how to win on the day, the week, the month, the quarter, the year.
Yeah.
They don't know what that looks like. Okay. So a lot of times, I don't know if you've run into this, it's like, well, we have to back this up and fix that first. Because you're asking people to lead people in a subjective category. Because they keep crossing these different borders because they haven't been told they can or can't. Right. So you gotta build that structure. And of course, it depends on the business itself, the time in the game and everything else. But do you run into that too? Like it's
Yeah, well, this was that issue is ubiquitous. I mean, it is almost pandemic. And so I'm going to give you a fun little anecdotal reality of who solved this problem and how they solved it. So I want to go back to the game of football. I'm not a football nut. I did play, but like it doesn't consume my day, but I think there's some interesting things to learn from it. And so if you go back to the San Francisco 49ers, I think late 70s, early 80s, coach by the name of Bill Walsh who had come in, and the 49ers at the time were not doing well. And they've since turned into a dynasty at that point. They're pretty good today, but like during this time, they were barely beatable. And one of the things Bill Walsh decided to do is he's famous for this thing called a West Coast offense, which everybody looks at on the field. But what he was really infamous for was his off the field and what he did in preparation. So when you called the headquarters, and this is actually outlined in his book, he co-authored a book about his experience. You called the headliners, the headquarters of the 49ers. The person who answered the phone via a script. It was given to them. They were trained on it. Who wrote the script? Bill Walsh, the head football coach. Now, mind you, in an NFL football team, the head football coach is not the CEO of the operation of the football team. They have general managers and these other people that do that. But Bill Walsh wanted such continuity in messaging from top to bottom that he went so far as to script out what the receptionist said on the front end. But he also introduced probably what is one of the more novel concepts within, it has affected the NFL, but has now affected all of American style football in the world. And my guess it has bled into other sports as well. And what he did is he started to script the first 10 to 15 plays of every football game. And so that way he would start game planning Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for the upcoming Sunday football game. And he would see the weaknesses of the defense and all that. He would then, and his staff would identify the top 10 to 15 plays that they thought was going to bring success. They would rep those plays all throughout the week. And then those would be the first 10 to 15 plays, regardless of scenario. Let's say they fumbled on play number 3 and now they're down a touchdown. Well, it didn't matter. 10 to 15 plays. Why do we do that? Because everybody's antsy going into a football game. It calms everybody down. They get a chance to rep over and over and over again. They have this confidence going in of, I know what's coming. I know what's coming. So that the moment that we go off script, I am now ready because I was so confident on script at that point. Simple little wrinkle every owner can add to their business. Write a 4-week onboarding script for every new employee. That's it. Oh my gosh, Renko, wait, hold on. I want you to think, bring your own creativity. What's everything you want a new employee to know? Everything. Where the coffee maker is, what our meeting structure is, all this stuff. Just get it all out on a sheet of paper. Plug it up into AI and go, write for me and take the job role, which means you got to write a job role. Don't go get a job role off the internet. Customize it to your business. Remember, your unique organism. Take the job role, take everything else you want them to know, put it in and go, hey, I want a week 1, day 1, week 1, day 2, week 1, day 3 for 4 weeks, hour by hour of what this person will do. And then you'll have to go in there and edit a little bit. And guess what? They'll come in. They don't feel like they have to be babysat, and you will not feel like you have to babysit them.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm actually working on the exact same thing with one of my clients right now because he had nothing. Like you have nothing, and one little thing, my son worked for him for about a week and a half. When he's hired, they didn't even show him how to punch in. Okay. Nothing and then he got suspended for doing a couple things. And here's the irony. And the owner knows this. We were joking about it because I'm coaching him. I'm like, so you suspended him. He goes, yeah, I kind of felt bad because that's the same day I was handing out the manual, what you can and can't do. I go, right. You're suspending the guy he had no idea. He's just working and doing his thing, and he doesn't know you can't do this or can't do that, because there's no manual. No one's giving him that onboarding. Zero onboarding. It took a
Yeah.
week before he could get his hours in. I go, well, how
Yeah.
do they know? So it's kind of funny, but to your point, it's so it's a major burden off your shoulders as an owner when you take the time. Again, no one wants to do it, but now again with AI, that time is cut in 80%. It's cut out
80%.
of
That's right. Yeah.
and let it do it. Then and now we have a system to follow. So no, and we have now everyone has to sign, initial this, you've read this, you've got this, initial this, like it's all here. When you say I didn't know, they go, well, it doesn't say that here. It
Yeah.
says you've signed it and
Yeah.
and you have a copy and it's digital, you have digital access. You can look at it whenever you want, right? Page by page. You can just pull it up in the library. It's really easy. So it's a brilliant thing. And like
Yeah.
you said, that getting someone off, this is a huge part of retention,
Yeah.
right? When someone comes in, because I was talking to someone yesterday about, I want employees for my clients to have to earn the right to be hired there. They
Yeah.
have to earn that position. So it's a process. It's not check your pulse, you're good. Okay, fog the mirror and we'll get you started tomorrow. It's like go through the hoops, create a process can be effective so you not only get the right person, but they really feel like they earn this right to be there.
Yeah.
Instead of saying you couldn't be doing this business without me.
That's
Because
right.
you need people, right? So, and then, but that process is what they want to see. Like the onboarding, the hiring process is their first point of contact, right? You have to have a
Yeah.
process to show them.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what we say all the time is their longevity will be a direct result of the hiring that they receive. And if they
that's it.
receive bad hiring, they're starting to look, for their next job. Now it'll take them 6 to 12 to 18 months to go find it, but they're starting to look for their next job.
And that's going to cost you tens of thousands
And with
in
every turnover.
training and all that stuff. You're going to just be bleeding money all the time.
Yeah,
And it's like,
with every turnover.
fix that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even, like the hiring process, like, here, I'll show you. And we walk through it and they're like, oh, I go, like my owners, guys have maybe 10, 15 people on their team. They're coming and they go, you're not talking to them.
Yeah.
You're for the meet and greet when they get hired.
Yeah, that's right.
You're not talking to people. You're going to come, hey, great to welcome you on the team, man. This is great. Janet's going to take care of you. She's awesome. You're going to meet the guys in the field. You'll be out there tomorrow. Talk to Jim and Ralph. They're good to go. And, hey, welcome to the team. And off you go.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? I go, yeah, that's how it should be. You need to be in that place. It's not an ivory tower. It's like, show them there's a system. They're
Yeah.
never going to call your personal cell to complain.
Right.
There's people for that. Okay. You go to them in that system. If it does get to me, it's an issue. Okay. Like we'll address it. But I love that aspect, Scott, just thinking about that 4-week onboarding. It's a big deal. The
Yeah.
hiring process, bringing that stuff in, start thinking systematically from the very beginning,
That's
from
right.
from the job placement.
And
the
think
ad.
about what you're communicating to them at that point.
Yep.
Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate.
Yeah, they got to know, like, okay, this is a real place to work.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are like, are we going to get paid next Friday?
Right.
This is pretty fly by the seat of our pants here. And I don't know what's going to happen every day. I got to wait for the commands to come
Right.
down the chain, like it's a mystery job. Like no one wants a mystery job. Okay. Like they don't know which way they're going to get hit today and that. Halfway through, they got to go here and do that. I mean, I've seen all the messes, right? And I've operated in that sometimes myself. So you learn like, okay, that's not what people want. Retention's a huge issue.
They want, what we'll tell people is more than money, more than remote flexibility, more than perks. What they want is clarity.
Yes.
If you can provide clarity, then they want that. Even if the clarity comes in a little bit of a challenging package, meaning it's a tough conversation, it's whatever, it's still clarity. And they would take that over lack of clarity. 100%.
Yeah, it's a respect issue.
Yeah,
They'll respect you for the clarity that you give.
that's right. That's
It's really just cutting to it. So it's so important, man.
Yeah.
Scott, this has been awesome.
Yeah, man. No,
This
you
is-
do a
this
great
is-
job of hosting. So thank you.
Well, this is you got it. I mean, we're kind of aligned here in our thought processes, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean everyone is. Everyone does things a little bit different. But I really love your approach. I like what you're doing with businesses. I mean, because the end goal for the outcomes for us is really getting that freedom from the
Yeah.
chaos. like you said in the beginning. Like that's a thing. And if you're in business, you've experienced it, the
Yeah.
chaos part
Yeah. That's our
and being
goal, man.
trapped in there. And I just encourage people, and this isn't self-serving. I'm just telling you from my own, I had billionaire clients giving me business advice that I wouldn't take because that's how smart I was. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not kidding. I mean, they own professional sports teams and manufacturing plants, and they're telling me, I'm going, well, what do you know about building water features?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the level of stupid I operated at. If I would have just listened just a few times, so I'm just saying, like, listen, compress 10 years into one.
Yeah.
Get someone who's been there, done that, do stuff like
That's
you do,
right.
Scott. And with that being said, like, how do people get in touch with you? How do they follow you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that. No, if you go to businessonpurpose.com, we have got our website chock full of resources to help liberate owners from chaos. And we've even got a great tool. If you go to businessonpurpose.com/healthy, it's about a 5 to 7 minute healthy assessment. It'll give you a metric background of the back end health of your business. And it's super cool, real
Yeah.
easy to do. And yeah, it would be well worth it.
Those kind of things, those metrics. I mean, there's another thing. We do a whole nother show on metrics and tracking, but you got to measure things. It's got to be
Yeah.
trackable. It's got to be measurable. It's the only way you improve. And
Yeah.
too many companies are not gathering the data that's easily available to make better decisions.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
can do these simple assessments on where you're at, it's not some complicated problem. You said it's 5, 7 minutes, whatever. Do those to see where you're at, and then do a little bit of self-assessment.
That's right.
Why am I here? Why is
Why am
that?
I?
And if you don't
Yeah.
know, call Scott.
Yeah,
He'll help
that's
you out,
right.
okay? So
That's exactly right. It's a
that's
good
what it's
way to
going to
it's a
be
good way
about.
to say
So,
it.
oh, that's awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for today. Just taking time out of your schedule and
Absolutely.
sharing the value with us, man. This has been a lot of takeaways. Went through half the ink in my pen.
Well, I'll tell
Probably.
you, it's a lot of work to do a podcast. So I'm grateful, Richard, that you would share that stage with me. So thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. You're welcome. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.